Welcome into Boxing Scene's top stories here on ProBox TV. Download the ProBox TV app now and never fall behind in your boxing news. Well, young heavyweights, they're great. I remember Mike Tyson winning the title to become the youngest ever, knocking out Trevor Berbick. But where are they now? Daniel Dubois, of course, turning heads at 27 years old. He is the exception to the rule. A lot of heavyweights getting toward their late 30s. Usyk is 37, Fury is 36. How long can this last, and when is that next generation coming? To help me answer that question, Jimmy Smith, alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Chris, you say it all the time that heavyweights can be successful older, but this crop of heavyweight is starting to age out. We're not quite seeing that next generation ready yet. What's your thought about this and the idea that as the heavyweight division goes, so goes boxing? What's your thought?
Well, if you look at least this side of the world, these larger framed athletes are going to football. We got football here. Football's big money, man. You do it in school. There's a program. You do Pee Wee football. You go to high school. You're a high school standout. You go to a D1 college. You get drafted. You get scouted. You get drafted. You go to the combine. You do all that. There's a program. There's a set way that you can see where the steps are to get to where you are. Boxing's not like that. Boxing is you show up. You're talented. And especially with heavyweights, managers and trainers look at them and go, ooh, heavyweight money, I want to help this guy to get him to where, but it's a really tough road, and there's a lot of pitfalls, and you're basically going in the dark. Unlike football, like I said, where there's a set path, there's a route to get to where you're going to be. And guess what? The money's way bigger there too. I mean, the amount of money these football players make for a less amount of time, not that they take any less damage. I think they take a tremendous amount of damage. I think boxing and football are two of the most dangerous sports for your health that there is. But I mean, you're looking at the money that these football players are making for a couple of seasons in the NFL, and plus the NFL is a unified group that takes care of their athletes when they retire. Boxing doesn't have any of that, so there's been a big push for all of these larger athletes, these athletic guys, to go to football. That's why I was so excited about Jared Anderson. I looked at him and I was like, this guy could easily be in the NFL in terms of his athleticism, his size, his speed, his explosiveness, his power. But he chose to be a fighter. He chose to be a boxer. We recently saw him lose to Bacoli, and our future heavyweight hopes were dashed with that defeat. So I don't know what's going to pull America out of the fire when it comes to the future heavyweight stars, because I don't see guys why they would choose to go on the blind route of boxing when you've got a set pattern to go to the NFL. If you're that athletic, I mean, the best in the world either way, you got to be a super athlete. And if I'm a super athlete, I'm going to the NFL, not to boxing.
But when you look at it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm gonna. We usually say I'm gonna push back a little. I'm gonna push back a lot here, champ. This is gonna be a big one right here, because first of all, the heavyweights in the 80s made a lot more money in comparison though to football back then. But heavyweights in the 80s were making a lot of money, and the heavyweights were making and the football players were making money. But in comparison to the price of life, American heavyweights, Western heavyweights in general, were making a lot of money. The problem I see, and football to a degree, I'll give it to you a little bit. It's much more organized now, and now the degree of money you can make now is much more impactful as far as getting there in an organized fashion. But me, I got to push back on this one. In 1990, you know how they said Paul Revere, the Redcoats are coming? In 1990, the Eastern Bloc came. The Eastern Bloc broke, and those guys started turning pro. And they've been beating the crap out of the West the whole time, And especially Americans, we haven't developed much since. Yes, early, and people are going to say, if you're really ignorant, you're going to answer me with, in the 90s, we did have heavyweights. Yeah, buddy, I know. The Soviet Union just fell in the 90s. You got to give them time to develop their pro guys and bust into the pro situation. A lot of times, even for the first 10, 15 years, a lot of these Easterners still weren't turning pro. I can remember the guy that beat Golovkin in the amateurs. Granted, this is in a heavyweight. Gaiderbekov didn't even turn pro, and he beat him in the Olympic finals. He won the gold medal. So there was still a culture of not turning pro there, but now it's finally starting to flip over completely. Guys are turning pro from the East constantly now. Nobody's really staying in the amateurs. If you remember, even Lomachenko stayed for 2 Olympics. Usyk stayed for 2 Olympics. Those are things that Westerners don't do. So the culture of staying in the amateurs, even when those guys broke away from communism, it still was kind of there. Now you're seeing guys turn pro faster. And bro, they're just taking over. Like I said they would. They're taking over. And Can we? Is it? I think it's a cop out. Honestly, the Americans going to football. I think it's a cop out. I don't because I think it's two different styles of sports. Yes, talent is athletic talent is athletic talent. You got to have the mindset. For me, it's the mindset. For me, it's the mindset of the West is just weaker. The mindset of the East is stronger. You've gotten the English heavyweights. Okay, they're in the West, so we're gonna count them a little bit different. In England, they are still developing powerful heavyweights, and we've seen in the last generation, we've seen AJ, we've seen Fury. We've seen Dubois, but even Fury comes from his own culture. The gypsy culture is a fighting culture in general, so even that is a culture within a culture that develops fighters. A lot of pro fighters in Europe are gypsies, even in Italy, actually, I've seen, so that's comes from a fighting culture in general. I don't know, man. I just feel like the entrance of the Eastern fighters into the pro game changed a lot of pro boxing, and they started being better. They were already better in the amateurs. They were already way better in the amateurs. They were winning way more medals in the amateurs. Once you let those guys come into the pros, they show you they're better in the pros. And honestly, Jimmy, with regards to the question, there are young heavyweights. It's just we've got guys like, and I talk positive about Turki Al-Sheikh when I need to, but I talk negative about him when I need to. Turki Al-Sheikh don't keep recycling the same old names. There's guys like Jalalov. He liked Jared Anderson because he was the cool next guy on the block that the media pushed onto him. But Jared Anderson wasn't nearly ready for that. But there are guys, they're just Eastern guys. All these guys that are going to come up the ladder, they're going to become star power. They're Eastern guys. I'm sorry to break it to you. If you're trying to put a Westerner where Eastern guys are going to dominate, you're going to try to put a square peg into a round hole, and it's not going to work.
Chance. So,
go ahead.
I got plenty. So, listen, I know you love pushing the Eastern Bloc guys, and I agree with you. Every point that you made.
I don't push it. They push themselves.
Okay, results. I know, but you like to remind people, quote unquote. I think I missed the option, the boat on this one, because I'm talking about why are there no American guys coming up? Because the Eastern Bloc guys are so good, it's keeping guys from even going pro. It's keeping guys from even being the amateurs. We don't have any heavyweights here. It's not about we don't have good ones. We don't have any. Where are these guys going?
I don't follow the amateurs. There's no heavyweights in the amateurs. I mean,
none to speak of. We're not winning titles. We're not winning gold medals.
We had Torres who went to the Olympics a couple of Olympics ago, right?
And he's 6'1" and 225 pounds. So he's a non-issue at the current.
We're not as big as the Eastern guys. These Eastern guys are giants.
Because my point is, the big guys are going to football. The guys who are 250, who are 6'6", they're not going the hard route of boxing. Boxing is a really difficult route, and I've seen this. And I say this because I'm friends with a lot of strength coaches who work in athletic programs across the country at high-level schools. I know you football guys are tough. You're not used to getting beat up. You're not used to getting put in positions you don't like. You see some of these guys go to MMA, and my friends who are coaches tell me, like, these guys are not used to getting wrestled and manhandled. They don't like the training. They don't like when you're a football player, dude. Yeah, you get hit. Yeah, you get whatever. You're not getting grounded out. You're not getting beat up. You're not in a boxing gym when you're with somebody who's smaller than you, who's beating you up, making you look bad, making you feel. You're not there. Those guys walk out. I'm telling you from what I understand from these guys who are in these training facilities, it's not the same thing. You're not getting these guys even coming out. It's not the Eastern Bloc guys keeping them from even going amateur. Why are they not going amateur? They're getting cut off at the pass because of football, because of other sports they can do. I mean, Wilder couldn't play football. Wilder was 215 and 6'7".
Basketball, though.
Couldn't play basketball, but he wasn't athletic enough. I'll say it right now. He couldn't play basketball. Basketball is an extremely athletic sport. No way that guy, he had no footwork. How is he going to play basketball? So that guy, he was one of those guys. He was a freak of nature. He could punch. He was very, very tall. But no way he could have done either one of those sports. He got pushed into boxing because of that.
You also need character, champ. You also need character.
That's what I meant about the training. That's what I meant about getting grinded out by these guys. You got to have character. You got to have big balls.
Gentlemen, we've seen it a million times when someone walks into a combat sports gym, kickboxing, boxing, MMA. You can be a great athlete. Can you get humiliated and beat up and keep coming back day after day? That is the tough part, and we'll see if America can produce more heavyweights in the near future, amateur and professional. And when they come out, we'll have them right here, of course, on ProBox TV. Download the app now. Never fall behind in your boxing news. More news to come.
Wednesday Night Fights.
Dynamite action on Wednesday Night Fights every other Wednesday on your boxing channel.
Coming up on your next Wednesday Night Fights, October 9th. Chris, Primetime Colbert, and Omar Super Salcido step into the ring for what is sure to be a barn burner. Live from the ProBox Event Center in Plant City. Get your tickets at ProBoxTV.com or take your chances at the door. Wednesday Night Fights.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.